to ISPC Tailboard Talks. I'm your host, Mark, and I'm coming to you from NWPPA's Alaska Conference in Anchorage, Alaska. Got a guest here today from Michels Power that we're going to have some conversation with, and so looking forward to that. And first of all, I want to give a shout out to our podcast sponsor, which is T&D PowerSkills. These days, safety training managers are challenged with the task of controlling their line work or training programs. These things are challenging, fast, and you need a solution that has the flexibility to keep up. T&D PowerSkills is a comprehensive 78-unit curriculum designed with the adult learner in mind. Control your message by customizing the program to meet your needs and training requirements. Control your delivery, control your costs, and whether you're using it as a single unit refresher or as a full 8,000-hour DOL certified apprenticeship program. To learn more about T&D PowerSkills, you can visit us at tdpowerskills.com and use the referral code Tailboard24 to get an exclusive podcast listener 5% discount. Again, that's tdpowerskills.com. So today I'm kind of one-on-one with our guest, so we're going to change things up here a little bit. He's going to join me for our tailboard talk and then go into our normal guest conversation. So our guest this morning is Alan Ames, who is the General Manager of Transmission Distribution for Michels Power Incorporated. Morning, Alan.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good. We're doing good. It's good
Great
to have you here. Appreciate you taking just a little bit of time out of your schedule this morning to sit and talk with me. And you're one of our customers that uses T&D PowerSkills, and so we appreciate that. And just like to from time to time sit down with our customers and see how things are going. So in our tailboard talk topic this morning, I kind of wanted to talk about the challenges in your world as a contractor when it comes to changing workforce. And so something that a lot of, maybe to a lesser degree, utilities and co-ops and municipalities might not have to deal with as much. But for you guys as a contractor, you constantly got people coming and going and moving around and changing job to job and company to company and maybe leaving, coming back. And so, quite frankly, it has to be tough to establish that sense of normalcy in your workforce when you constantly have people going in and out. So, I mean, obviously you guys are a very large contractor and a very successful contractor, but is there things that you guys have identified that kind of helps you get around that challenge?
Well, I mean, like obviously our resources come through the union halls, and they're not technically Michels Power employees. That's on the contractor side, so they're free to go wherever they want.
Yep.
And it's a world out there of you've got consistent work.
Yep.
With some of these COCs, these utilities.
Sure.
Let's take for instance the recent hurricane.
Yep.
We've got jobs going.
Yeah.
Expectations from the customers, outages that we have to meet, and when people just get up and take their drag bag with them, it's always challenging. You're left holding the bag, and the customer looks at you and says, "What are you going to do about this, Alan?"
Yeah, sure.
Here's our outages in 3 weeks. Are you going to be done? And it's a constant revolving door.
Yeah.
So with that, obviously there's safety issues involved when you're bringing in new people all the time.
Sure.
And you can have your orientations on day one, but how a lot of that stuff goes.
Sure.
So it's an ever-changing environment. I'm not saying everybody does that. There's the people that do travel a lot, and there are the committed people that stay back.
Yeah.
A lot of times what we've done, we've made deals with people. We'll give you as much overtime you want on this job.
Sure.
Just stay and finish it.
Yeah.
We'll pay for your hotels. Just stay on the job, please.
Yeah.
And that works a lot. And I would say probably about 10 or 12 years ago, I was at a conference down in Atlanta, and I was with one of the directors from one of our utilities. We were on the same flight, and she says, "How are you going to get our work done, Alan?" And I said, "What if we paid the guys the same thing those guys are getting on storm, but they're sleeping in their beds every night?" They actually agreed and paid that.
Wow.
They paid that extra to keep
awesome.
them crews along, keep them around. So it's always a little bit different. Every storm is different.
Yeah.
it's a constant challenge.
I mean, obviously, even as a worker, I would think if you wanted to, you wanted to stay local, stay near your family, stay on that job, I think I would take that option versus running all over the country and sleeping in hotels, maybe even sleeping in my truck, depending on how bad things got. So,
There's been some ugly situations where I felt sorry for the guys where they were sleeping.
yeah, exactly, for sure. I guess speaking of that, maybe we'll just touch on it a little here. But so what or did you guys play any part in kind of the mayhem that unleashed a month or month and a half ago down south? Did that kind of workforce challenge come in?
Sure.
Come in there?
Yep. There was one particular job in Iowa that we shut down a different job. That customer was understanding.
Yeah.
They were flexible. We sent some of those resources to a different customer's job that
Sure.
there was a hard stop deadline on an outage that we had to get it done. And we offered them guys the 7 days a week, paid their meals,
Nice.
paid their hotels, plus their per diems, and we finished strong on it. So you got to be flexible. And
Kind of when I thought about asking you that question, I never, and because I came from the utility world, and I have worked at the utility in Pennsylvania that you guys worked for us there as well, and so, I saw it from time to time where, hey, nobody showed up today, where'd everybody go? You know what I mean? And they sent them on storm here or something like that, and I'm like, well, what about our job? We got to get things done too. So, no, I think it's a valid thing, and obviously you guys are a fairly large contractor, right? And so
Yes.
you probably have a little bit more resources than some of your smaller contractors where
Sure.
it might not be quite as easy for them to do that, but still presents challenges and so on when it comes to maintaining that, I guess I'd call it, constant workforce. So, well, we'll get into a little bit more of that as we talk here
Okay.
in a little bit. I want to talk some more around the safety and training side of those things. But let me give another shout out here to our sponsor, and then we'll continue our conversation. So, again, our sponsor for today is T&D PowerSkills, taking back control of your training message, delivery, and costs. T&D PowerSkills is a comprehensive 78-unit curriculum designed with the adult learner in mind. Control your costs and with flexible delivery models that scale from companies of just a few crews to large utilities and contractors. To learn more, visit us at tdpowerskills.com. Again, that's tdpowerskills.com. Use the referral code TAILBOARD2024 to get an exclusive podcast listener 5% discount. So, again, our guest is Alan Ames, the general manager of T&D for Michels Power, based out of Wisconsin.
correct.
Is that correct?
In the central region, we call it. We have our
Okay.
own regions within, so, yep.
Before we get into kind of you specifically, Alan, what does Michels Power look like? I know when I first started dealing with you guys when I worked for a utility, I never really recognized how many parts of the industry you guys touch. I mean, in my world, it was Michels Power,
Right.
but you guys do a lot more than just power. Can you just touch a little bit on kind of what you guys do in the industry?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny you say it like that because I went through the same thing.
Okay.
I was at a utility, Alliant Energy, for 21 plus years.
Okay.
And when I was in field engineering, designing gas and electric facilities.
Okay.
And sometimes when we needed other support, outside support from contractors, we had the peepers, we had Michels Power come in. And I never had an idea how big they were either till I started working here 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That we were into so much stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really unbelievable. They was founded with pipeline work.
So
That's
that's
how
where it
Michels started back in
Okay.
1959.
Wow.
It's still a family-owned business. And yes, they're into everything. It's anything infrastructure-wise, whether it be utilities, roads, piers for bridges, stuff like that. It's just amazing.
I don't even know what made me do it one day. I just looked you up on the web, and I was like, holy crap, they're really quite broad.
Yes, there's a lot of moving parts. It's the company's very well diversified.
Okay.
When one sector is slow or something, and let's just take when 4 years ago when the pipeline world got shut down a little bit there.
Sure.
I mean, sure, that division, that company of Michels was kind of slow for a while. We're so diversified, it didn't really hurt the overall picture, if you know what I mean there.
Gotcha.
I mean, the power division was very small when I came here 15 years ago, and now, it's over $1 billion a year just itself. Wow. It's just crazy. Very, very good company, very good family.
I guess that's an interesting point too. And a lot of times when you have large companies, no matter what they are, whether they're a contractor or whatever the case may be, I guess I never really thought of it as Michels being a family-owned company, right? Mm-hmm. You tend to think if things get that big, some of the other contractors out there, the Primorises and the Quantas and those type of companies as well. It's nice to see that there's still those family-owned businesses out there, even though you guys have gotten as large as you have, and I imagine that comes with some benefit of having that.
It does. I mean, you can walk into a leadership convention and Pat Michels will come up and say, "Hey, Alan, how you doing? How's Iowa treating you?" And
Awesome.
it's really a different feeling. And since I brought up Pat's name, he just sent an email out to us, the entire workforce this week about an employee engagement survey that they did. And the industry average for, let's just call it happiness of their employer with your work-life balance, the industry average is like 44%. And Michels came back, I think it was 84.5%.
Wow.
Of the people, the employees love this company.
That's awesome.
It is. It was really weird.
Well, and I think that helps, kind of what we were talking about in the tailboard talk, that kind of, I think, helps your effort as well when you're asking an employee, hey, we really need to get this job done instead of taking, 50 cents an hour more to go run storm or chase storms.
Right.
Will you help us out, and we'll give you a little bit extra, scratch your back, those type of things. And that goes a long way to keeping happy employees and a happy workforce. So
right, yes, we have a lot of, we call them core employees. They don't leave. They're here, and you treat them people well.
Sure.
They're much appreciated.
Yeah.
So
tell us a little about your career path, and you can go as much in detail as you want. I've had guests that start all the way back at high school or growing up as a kid, and others just kind of start with their career path. But just kind of to give everybody a little bit of your background and kind of what you went through and the things you did to kind of get where you are today. What's that look like?
Well, I guess, after high school, I went to Votech school for egg mechanics. And I thought, well, I grew up on a farm, and I always figured I kept breaking stuff. My dad was always yelling at me, so I'd go learn how to fix it. I had a part-time job while I was going to school, but I only did that for one semester, and I got out of it. It's like, okay, I know this stuff already. And then I went into a program called municipal engineering, and that dealt with water treatment, wastewater treatment, land surveying, power generation, distribution, house wiring. A little bit of everything. We toured power plants, was part of it too, and then I ended up getting a degree out of there. I was still working. I went back to my former employee as a mechanic at a Dubuque Pack, and I got hired in the late 80s at Wisconsin Power and Light in a power plant in my hometown. I was there like 5 years, got into apprenticeship for engineering tech for designing gas and electric facilities. I did that for the next 15 years probably. Was the trainer there for the apprenticeship when I left, and I came to Michels 15 years ago. So 35 plus years in industry, and I think I chose the good routes, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
I'm one of those as well that kind of had a diverse pathway to where I got today. I haven't always been in the utility industry. I think it helps you maneuver through your career path when you can have a little bit more exposure to multiple things, and so that always helps. We already talked about some of the challenges when it comes to staffing. What about in the contractor world? So you mentioned most of your field folks come out of the union hall, and so whether they went through that apprenticeship, IBEW apprenticeship, whatever the case may be, or whatever their experience is, there has to be expectations from Michels Power when somebody comes to work for you, right? No matter what their background is, I would assume there is things that you guys inspect out of your employees, certain job descriptions, job knowledge, those type of things. So besides what they kind of come to the table with, what do you guys do, or what do you guys offer when it comes to, I guess I would call it, getting up to speed with your company expectations, and then kind of maintaining that that challenge of keeping your folks at the front of their trade?
Well, I guess, we're expecting they are qualified on equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You've been in the industry.
Yes.
We're expecting you to know how to run all this equipment. You can't just trust that either. So we do, operator qualifications, stuff like that as well, yearly with people. Another thing that we do is we know, not personally on everybody that comes through, but myself, I'm on the interview committee for Mo Valley. So a lot of these people, I see them from day one when they're interviewing to get into the line school program there and everything. I'm on the subcommittee for hot time reviews, stuff like that. So you kind of follow these young men as they come through. And you can tell a lot of these, let's call it speed dating, when these people come in for the interviews, it's 3 to 7 minutes. And you can tell if somebody's going to make it in this field or not within the first 16 seconds that they walk in the room. And to me, it's quite rewarding to see the people that as they develop through this. So I guess I was using that as kind of a crutch of, I know some of these people that do come through from day one, but there's always the ones that the travelers that come through that you have to, be on your game, make sure that they're qualified. You just can't assume everybody has got the same safety aspect. And it's something I think I mentioned the other day about some of the tailboards I'll sit in on the morning. It's a pretty basic analogy of, you're not flipping hamburgers here, guys. You're dealing with every day that kills you. So you have to have your game on, 100% focused on your job, your task at hand. We have a stop work authority. Everybody's got a stop work authority coin in their pocket. If they have a question about a task they're doing, they're working up in the energized, you just stop. Don't take the chance. Don't reach any further. Stop the crew and have a tailboard, sit down, and kind of reset.
Yeah. The other challenge, I guess, that you guys have versus the utility side is, right, so you have, in essence, multiple customers you're trying to satisfy, right? You have your employees, which is one of your customers. You have your whatever utility or customer on the flip side that you're trying to, obviously do a good job for, so on and so on. So I guess, how do you balance that, right? Like I know you guys, or at least my perception of it is, in the contract world, that, obviously you're moving all the time. Is it just kind of understood from the day that people you hire and people that work for you come in the door that, listen, you're just going where we need you to go? And because I think sometimes, again, and this is probably just my outside perception, this might not be exactly how it works, but, like I said, I mentioned I worked with a lot of your folks in the Pennsylvania area, and how we operate in the utility world versus what's expected out of the contract world, in my mind, is two very contrasting mindsets, right? Like, if we told our guys, you're working this weekend because we got to get something done. I mean, it was like pulling teeth. And, from the contractor side of things, I'd talk to some of your guys that work for you guys, and it just is what it is. If we got to work, we got to work. And so is that ever a hard conversation, or is that kind of just what the expectation you set coming right out of the gate?
Well, I'll go back to the interviews of these young guys that are getting into this. That's one of the questions right off the bat. Okay. Define travel. Are you okay with travel? And a lot of them will say, well, yeah, I'll go anywhere. And I'll say, well, define your type of travel. I've been on the road for 35 years, but I'm home every weekend. So I'm gone a few nights during the week or whatever. To me, that's not traveling. Traveling to me is, you're on a job site for 3 months and you don't get home for 3 months. And when you talk to some of these guys and make them think about that, they're like, oh, maybe this is maybe I should just go with the utility where I'm working, 7 to 3:30 and I'm home every night. Because, well, we all know that's that consistent world. For me, 15 years ago, I was getting stale in that environment, and I knew that. when the Michels opportunity came, there was going to be some running here and there. I loved it. So it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
We all know that. And a lot of people will say, another question is we ask them, where do they want to be in 15 years if you make it through the apprenticeship? Do you want to stay in the contractor side and construction world traveling, or do you see yourself at a co-op or a utility? So you got to be they got to be careful how they answer that.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, you don't want to put all that time and effort into it.
Correct.
I used to do some interviewing as well when I was a supervisor, and one of my similar questions was, well, why do you want to work here? That was a carefully treaded path there, because I had some people that said, well, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not sure I want to be the one that spends
Puts
the
the
next
time and
5 to
effort.
7 years putting effort into you, and then you decide you're going to leave on me. So, yeah, that's definitely a challenge.
And that's something, I mean, and there where I'm just talking about the field people, but, our project management group as well, we have, people that like to go sit on large jobs.
Sure.
And go home every 3 weeks or something like that. 3 out, and a week back home working from home, catching up on paperwork. But that takes a special type of person as well. And again, that question is asked, where do you want to work? Where do you want to be? And some people, some relationships, it's better that way. But we treat them people just as well too. It's just, if you're getting into this, you can be on a COC contract where that's the next 5 years you're in this area. And they're great with that. And then you got the other project managers that love to travel and just run one large project. So, and we, obviously we have programs in place. If you're that type of person, we have project pay. We pay them extra stuff, extra money or something to go do that. And the crews are working 7 days a week, and we make it right with them. And that's reflected in that survey that just got turned in I was talking about. People are happy. If they're happy, they're going to produce for you.
Absolutely. So what does advancement, or for lack of a better term, moving up the ladder look like when it comes to, I guess we'll just stick with your world at Michels, right? But is there opportunity there?
Always, yes. I mean, with the growth that we've seen internally here in the last 15 years, I mean, there's a lot of these people that are, late 30s, early 40s, they're into regional managers, general manager roles now. And that's that workforce, aging workforce. Obviously, I'm raising my hand. I'm one of them.
Yeah,
so
sure.
That's the growth that's coming in the utility world too. All these MISO build-outs and stuff that's coming over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
We need people.
Yeah.
And if you're that type of person that wants to get involved, raise your arm, and if you want to travel, let's go. So going to be a lot of work out there in the future here.
I was going to ask you, where you see the kind of contractor world going moving forward, because probably back in 2010 or so started this electric utility boom, especially at the utility I worked for. Started that boom, and you guys were a big part of that. Mm-hmm. And then we heard this is going to start to drop off around the 2022, 23, 24 range, and then kind of the solar and the renewable energy boom started coming along, and well, now that's going to go another. It's not going to drop, right? We're just going to. Is there ever an end in sight?
People want their lights on. You got to build and maintain with the growth.
Yeah.
And maintaining is a big thing as well. So I don't see anything slowing down.
I don't either. And I think with the constant evolution of the power industry, infrastructure in general, right? I mean, even in all your other businesses that Michels has, I don't see where it ever stops. I mean, you constantly need to upgrade the roads and the pipeline. And it just, I don't know that it ever stops. So.
Yeah, you can sit back and watch it, or you can invest in that and get into it and take advantage of that.
Yeah. I guess maybe the last thing, let's just touch on, somebody's out there, right? These kids, getting into their latter years of high school, or maybe they've just gotten out of high school and are contemplating, do I go to school? Do I go to a trade school? Do I just try to find a job? Obviously, the labor market let's face it, there's probably right now maybe a 40 to 50,000 worker shortage when it comes to the electric utility industry across the entire United States. So, if I'm that kid coming out of school and I'm looking, all right, what do I do? Where do I go? What's next in my life? Again, maybe my perception, but I feel it might be a little easier to get tug on with a contractor to jumpstart your career and get some experience. Correct. And wrong or right, I think getting into the utility world, you almost got to know somebody to kind of help you navigate that path. And I think, the contract world may be a little bit easier to hook on. It might not be the easiest path to follow, like we talked with all the travel and all that stuff, but where, if I'm that kid, what do I...
Go sign the books at the local union hall. Let's being a union contractor. Yep. Go sign the books, get on a job site as a groundman, and apply for the apprenticeship if you want to go that route. Okay. You can get in there. You can go overhead or underground. You go learn how to run a drill, be on the underground side. Get into the apprenticeship and make good decisions out there, and we were all young once. So I feel that message isn't getting to them. And I know Michels as a whole, we have a recruiting group that does go visit the high schools, and when they have the career days, stuff like that. We have, I was just this morning, a couple of interviews for interns. We take interns their freshman year of college, employ them for 3 months out of the summer. And this year it'll be another over 100 people. Get some exposure out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good career. It's a fruitful career if you're not afraid to work. Now my son's grown now; he's in his early 20s. But when he was coming towards the end, him and his buddies, I'd be like, learn a trade. You'll never be without a job.
Correct.
I mean, if you can do something with your hands, build stuff, whatever it may, lineman, electrician, plumber, carpenter, figure out something you can do with your hands, and you'll never be unemployed in your life. If you're not the school guy, right, that wants to go sit another 4 years in school. And a lot of times, going this route, you can get your, you mentioned the apprenticeship program. You get on with the right contractor. That's part of your compensation, right?
Correct.
They'll help you through that pathway. So for folks that don't necessarily have the financial means to go the traditional path through school, it's a good
4
avenue.
years of college, and here that you're paid on the job, and you get to see the country for free.
Yeah.
And do it when you're young.
Oh, absolutely. Because when I hit about the same thing with all the overtime. When I got about 45 or maybe just a couple years, I'm like, all right, I've done my 25-year stint of that.
And it goes fast, doesn't it?
It does go fast. It really does.
It's a great industry. It's been very good to me and my family. So. And
I think you'll get that general sentiment from anybody you talk to that's come through this industry and spent enough time in it that, there's times you're really going to bust your butt, and there's times that you're traveling all over if you're in depending where you're at and what you're doing. But at the end of the day, I think you'd be hard pressed to find very many individuals that would say, boy, that was a mistake to become a lineman or electrician or so.
And what does everybody say? It's such a big industry, yet it's so small.
It is.
Because you might see that same person again 5 years down the road, they might have a different cap on.
Yep.
But you know them.
Yeah.
And it's I'm in Alaska here, and there's a couple of people I know.
Yeah, yeah. It is.
Like I said, they're wearing a different hat now. But
sure, it is a small world. The line industry or the electric utility industry in general, like you said, as big of a entity as it seems to be because of what gets taken care of and built and maintained. It really is a very small knit. It's almost like a fraternity, like being in the military or being in the law enforcement or something to that nature. It really is a good career, and so for everybody out there, if you're listening and thinking about getting in this career, there's contractors out there like Michels that are awesome places to work and probably a little easier to get into than a utility or something of that nature, but the pathways are there, and
like I said, it's not slowing down.
Yeah, you're not going to be without work.
No.
You get into the utility industry, you will have a career that you can absolutely retire from, and the pathway is really up to you what you want to do and what you want to take. So.
And this is one of the few industries that still kind of goes back to the old basics of relationships, and
sure.
Yeah. There's still utilities out there that handshake agreements. It's good to see.
I was really surprised that we just did a podcast with with a gentleman from up here in Alaska. You know, some of the challenges that they deal with up here, I just never thought about, you know, and they have small little pockets. You know, they might have a utility in one of these small towns. It's got 1 or 2 linemen that take care of everything. And it's like, you know, the other thing I found funny was they're so stretched out up here that you need a transformer 10 miles down the road. You might have to put it on an airplane and fly it there.
Right.
And
you just go get it.
Yeah, you just can't drive it over there. So, well, Alan, I really appreciate you taking some time this morning to sit down and chat.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Appreciate everything you guys are doing, you and Michels, and you know, you're one of the shining stars when it comes to the contract world. And, you know, we have worked with you guys. We appreciate the partnership there when it comes to training and so on, and wish you the best. And when you get close to that time to hang up the hooks, as they say, maybe it's little bittersweet.
Yeah, it is. And my wife even asked me, "You think you're ready to retire?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm actually going to miss the traveling."
Yeah.
When I do decide to go, it's because I enjoy that. I've got friends all across the country.
Yeah.
If you're in town, hey, let's go grab lunch, grab dinner or something, and it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You meet a lot of good people, you make a lot of friends and a lot of acquaintances. So it's hard to walk away from that.
It is. It is.
But I always tell everybody, don't waste your retirement away, right? You gave it your 35, 40 years, and you know now it's time to usher in the new generation and
hand over the reins.
Hand over the reins, right? And that's you know, the best thing we can do is pass on our knowledge and pass on our experience and prepare that next generation to be able to care for it and take care of it just like we did. And we had those same mentors when we were young, right? That you looked up to,
and now we're that old guy now.
That's right. We're the old guy now.
When we leave, you know, you kids keep the lights on.
That's right. At least for another 10 or 15 years. I mean, once I'm seeing dark for good, I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah. Well, again, Alan, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me and
thanks for asking me.
Have a conversation, and appreciate what you guys do, and we'll stay in touch, and who knows, maybe we'll run into each other and back in the lower 48.
Yes.
So
I haven't been out east in a while, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So just one last shout out here to our podcast sponsor again, T&D PowerSkills. You know, safety training is a challenge, and things are changing fast, and you need a solution that's flexible to keep up. T&D PowerSkills is a curriculum designed with the adult learner in mind. Control your delivery with flexible scale, from single unit refresher training to fully DOL certified 8,000-hour apprenticeship programs. Control your costs and flexible delivery models and scale from companies no matter what size they are. To learn more, visit us at tdpowerskills.com. Again, that's tdpowerskills.com. And use the referral code TAILBOARD2024 to get an exclusive podcast listener 5% discount. Got to say, the views and opinions shared in this podcast are the personal viewpoints of the participants and may not necessarily reflect the stance of the Institute for Safety and Powerline Construction and its staff. It's highly advised to consult your company management before implementing any actions or policy changes. Please support the sponsors bringing this content to you. For more episodes of ISCPC Tailboard Talks, subscribe to your favorite podcatcher and be sure to leave a review. We'd love to hear from you. Again, thanks to our guest today, Mr. Alan Ames with Michels Power Corporation. Appreciate his time and insight. And until next time, I'm Mark, your host, and we will see you again on ISPC Tailboard Talk. Boom.